Is one permitted to take off tuition from his Maaser? He separates Maaser every month, and can he use that Maaser towards the tuition for his children's school? The answer to this is a machloket in large, machloket between Gdolei Ador. Rav Moshe Feinstein held not. Chacham Ovania permitted if the kid is over the age of 6. But let's dwell into the understanding of the machloket. Rav Moshe said that since it's davar shebechovah, which means anything that you must do, you're not allowed to deduct from your maaser. And therefore, today, one must send his children to school even after the age of 6. By law, even his daughters he must send to school. So normally you would say his daughter is definitely tzedakah, he's voluntarily sending your daughter, she's not obligated to learn Torah. But since today you're obligated to send your children to school, the government obligates a parent to send his children for education, and therefore you have an option between sending her to a public school, which is really not an option because she's going to learn over there to become just like them. Therefore, you are left with the other option of sending her to a yeshiva, Bet Yaakov, and that cannot be deducted from Maaser. Let's see the wording of Moshe Feinstein in his tshuva. He says, בדבר, אם רשאי לשלם שכר לימוד הבנות בבית ספר שנקרא בית יעקב מעות מעשר, are you allowed to deduct the tuition of Bet Yaakov from Maaser? ודאי יש חילוק בין בנים לבנות מדין, although there is a difference between boys and girls, since boys are obligated to learn Torah and girls are not. ממילא in boys it's דבר שבחובה שאינו רשאי לשלם ממעשר. Boys definitely you can't deduct that from a מעשר. ולבנות שאין חיוב עליו ללמד להם תורה, since by girls you're not obligated to teach them תורה, הרי אין דבר שבחובה והם יש צורך השייך להתיר ליתן מכסף מעשר. You could have מעיקר הדין deduct מעשר from that. But, says Moshe, במדינתנו כאן שמחויבים מדינה דמלכות על למדם בבתי ספר שלהם, ובחזה השם על ישראל העיקר רשות למדם בבית ספר שתחת הנהלת ישראל כשרים, שנמצא שאם לא ייתן ביתו ללמוד בבית ספר כשר, כהד בית יעקב וכדומה, להתחנך שם בדרך התורה והאמונה ושמירת המצוות, הרי יהיה מוכרח ליתן אותה לבית ספר של המדינה, שהוא חס ושלום ללא תורה ללא אמונה, שזה מחויב גם לראות שתהיה ביתו כשרה להאמין בשם תורתו, ממילא הוא דבר שבחובה. He explains the way we explained before, that since you are obligated today by law to send your children to be educated in a school, to go and receive education, that education, it could be done in a public school, but since one is obligated also to make sure that his children go in the right path, the right way, get the kosher chinuch according to the Torah and the mitzvot, therefore he must send her to a yeshiva, a Bet Yaakov, and it again becomes a davar shebachova, which you are not allowed to deduct from your maaser. But Chacham Ovadia in Yechave Dat, Chelik Gimel, argues on him, and he brings down the words of the Rambam and the Shulchan Aruch that says, הנותן מזונות לבניו ובנותיו הגדולים שאינו חייב מן הדין במזונותיהם. If you are feeding your children older than 6 years old, which the halacha doesn't obligate you to feed them, or כדי ללמוד בניו תורה ולהנהיג בנותיו בדרך ישרה, or to send them to school and get a kosher education for boys and girls, הרי זה בכלל מצוות צדקה. It's considered צדקה. וצדקה גדולה היא שהקרוב קרוב קודם. It is the greatest form of tzedakah. This is how the Shulchan Aruch is posek in Siman Rashon Aleph Sif Gimel, and this is brought down from the Gemara in Ketuvot Daf Nun, that it says over there, tzedakah bechol et, who is a person that constantly gives tzedakah and does tzedakah, zazan et banav kshem ktanim. A person that feeds and gives food to his children, which are greater of the age of 6, they're still minors, but they're older than the age of 6. This is considered tzedakah, constant tzedakah. It's a great tzedakah. And therefore, such a thing also would be for tuition. One is permitted to deduct tuition for those kids that are older than the age of 6, although you're obligated to give them, but it's still considered tzedakah, and that is the base of the machloket. The Moshe says that since you are obligated to send them to school, it's considered דבר שבחובה, and you can't deduct that from a maaser. Chacham Ovadia says that since it's considered tzedakah, even though you're obligated, sometimes we obligate a person, sometimes we force a person to give tzedakah, even though you are forced to give tzedakah, it's still considered for that aspect as tzedakah, even though you're forced to do it, and therefore such a thing would be able to be deducted from maaser as well. And this is basically how it proves from different sources, although the Taz brings down in the Shulchan Aruch, he says that one wouldn't think that whatever he takes off from giving food to his children, clothing and other needs, he'll be able to deduct that from a maaser. But many argues on that Taz, including Dor Chaim HaKadosh, Rav Chaim Ben Attar, in Rishon LeZion, and this is how Chacham Ovadia brings down. So therefore we found to be a machloket whether one is permitted to give tzedakah, to take off maaser from his the tuition from his maaser. But another point that Chacham Ovadia points out is that since today we considered, most poskim considered tzedakah as to be a minhag, and we already spoke about this in the past, whether it is a Torah obligation, the Rabbanan obligation, or a minhag. According to majority of poskim, it seems to be a minhag, and since it is a minhag, one is permitted to be a little bit more lenient on that. Just like we say, for instance, that on the Safek de Rabbanan we go lekula, we lenient on a Safek de Rabbanan or Machloket de Rabbanan. Over here, that we found to be something that has to do with a minhag. If one feels that it's very tight for him to give maaser after he pays tuition, he doesn't really have any money left, it gets him very tight, so then there is room to be lenient. But if one makes enough money and he could give maaser and give the tuition, he should definitely do both, because both are things that are very important. Sending your children to school and paying tuition, it's your mitzvah, it's a great thing to do. And secondly, giving maaser. Maaser is one of the most important mitzvot, is to feed those that are poor, to help out Torah, to help out shuls and Torah institutions. That is something that is very important. One should be makpid on that as